throwing a little bit of light down on that retaining wall as well. But if you were to put some path lights down on this walkway, then that's where I would maybe just focus on the wash lights and the up lights on this area. And then I would still try and kind of space those path lights as much as possible in between where you have some of the up lighting. It just creates a nice balance. It's not going to be perfect, but if you can do that in here, it's nice. And then keep in mind too, on the stair area, like you showed another picture, I think if you have a, just to highlight the entryway, you kind of have a path light here and a path light here that highlights the front stepway, and then you just have the rest of them kind of along the walkway here. Now, if this is gravel on both sides, then ideally, if you can stagger them from one side to the other, it just kind of creates a nicer effect because it. Hey guys, it's Cal from the Lighting Doctor here. I hope you guys enjoy this video with some more great landscape lighting tips. To learn more about landscape lighting, go and check out our website at lightingdoctor.ca, or if you want to see what a real quality landscape light should look like, go and check out our Try It Before You Buy It offer, where you can get a premium quality fixture at a discounted rate with your very own battery pack, so you can go and test out how that light's going to look and feel what a real premium quality light should look like. So go and check us out at lightingdoctor.ca, or go watch more videos on YouTube just by searching for the Lighting Doctor. Hey, Clay, thanks again for your message and all your pictures there. You've got a great house for lighting, so I'll definitely give you a couple thoughts, a couple ideas, and a couple different lights. A few of them actually won't even be on our website, and that's okay, because I think you'll want to customize a lot of this anyway. So I'll kind of talk about some different ones, and then depending what the fence and stuff looks like, but I'll kind of get into that from there. So I mean, first off, I mean, if you've watched any of kind of our videos and stuff, you know, one of the first things I'm going to talk about is kind of highlighting the front of the house a little bit. So, I mean, the way that I would go and I would do that is, I'm just trying to think of the best way. And this is where something that's very handy is actually our Try It Before You Buy It lights. It's basically one of these lights, but if I go back to the home page, sorry, internet's a little bit slow today, but what it is it gives you a chance to kind of feel the fixtures, but also what it does is it comes with this battery pack, so you can actually go and place those lights. And I think it'll help you decide how many you guys want, because you can literally put a ton of lights on this property. So it really depends what you guys want. So this would allow you to go and, you know, buy a couple of those lights, plug them in, and then you could actually go and see what ideas you like best before you go and buy the rest of the lights. And the reason I say that, I mean, in a perfect world, ideally what I would do is I would have, and I'm not sure if this is a maintained area or not too. I mean, typically I would just have an uplight kind of on all sides of the shutter. So I would have 4 of those, even though this tree, covers this light, a lot of that light's still going to get up top here, and it's going to create that nice balance to light the whole front of the house. So on these ones here, kind of on the outside, what I would use is I would just use a standard one like this. So if I kind of go back to our homepage, a standard uplight comes with a 4-watt LED lamp in it. You're probably going to want to use something a little bit brighter for a couple of the areas, so you can upgrade these lights to what we'll call a 35-watt equivalent lamp. So it's just a little bit brighter. It's a 5-watt LED lamp. And what I would do on the front here is I would have 2 of the standard ones kind of on the side, and then I would have 2 of the 35 watts kind of on these sides of the shutter. So it does a better job of kind of highlighting up here. Now the reason I ask if this is maintained or not is because I don't know if you want to have a light sticking out of the ground that you're going to have to trim around. If this is going to become bed or anything like that, then no big deal. But if you don't want to have to trim around a light or see a light sticking out of here, basically you can do the exact same effect. You just use a different light, and I'll talk about the in-ground lights in a couple other areas too, but you would use an in-ground light like this. Same option, you can change the bulb in there so that you can have one brighter and one not as bright, but this way it just sits flush in the grass, so it's less maintenance for you. So that's what I would do across this front section. I would probably try and get a couple wash lights. So this one I would probably just use a standard uplight again and highlight it more so from this angle. That's one thing to keep in mind too, is viewing angles. If you can get a light sometimes a little bit on the side on some of these, what it does is it kind increases the viewing angle, so not everything is just lit up from directly in front, but it kind of curves around a little bit, so it creates a larger viewing angle. So I would have an uplight here, and then I'd probably have like a wash light over here and a wash light over here. And a wash light's very similar to an uplight, but it's a wider angle, softer light. Again, this is ideal if that's going to be a bed or you know, you're not going to have to do a lot of maintenance around it, then that's a great light. Otherwise, that area might become a fair bit of maintenance. And the other thing you could do here too, if you didn't want to use the wash light, sometimes this is where I'll just use some path and garden lights in between where I kind of have my uplights. So for example, I might have a path light in here, but again, this is, you know, if you have any kind of cool design features or structural things that you want to highlight, that's where a wash light is nice to kind of highlight that. I maybe throw a path light in here, another one in here. I've got my uplight. I'll throw a path light here. I might throw one in the middle. I might throw one in the middle here, and then I have an uplight here, and then it kind of does a nice job of throwing a little bit of light down on that retaining wall as well. But if you were to put some path lights down on this walkway, then that's where I would maybe just focus on the wash lights and the uplights on this area, and then I would still try and kind of space those path lights as much as possible in between where you have some of the uplighting. It just creates a nice balance. It's not going to be perfect, but if you can do that in here, it's nice. And then keep in mind too, on the stair area, like you showed another picture, I think if you have a just to highlight the entryway, you kind of have a path light here and a path light here that highlights the front stepway, and then you just have the rest of them kind of along the walkway here. Now, if this is gravel on both sides, then ideally, if you can stagger them from one side to the other, it just kind of creates a nicer effect, because I don't know, just more symmetry that way than if everything's on one side, and it does a better job of lighting the complete pathway, as opposed to you'll have one side as all be brighter, whereas if you have them staggered, then it kind of lights up nicely here, kind of lights up nicely here, and it's got a nice staggering pattern. So hopefully that makes sense. Then the other thing I would try and do is I would probably try and throw a couple of those same uplights. I would gutter mount them. Probably one over here and one over here, and have them really shining more up at these top peaks here. You don't want them shining in the window, but if you have them shining more upright, it's going to light that second layer of your home. And the way we do that is usually I'll just run the wire either right behind or inside the downspout. Run my wires across. We have these gutter mounts that fit in the gutter, screw to the side, the fixture screws in there. All our connections are waterproof, so you can make them right in the gutter. Oh, and back to your picture here, and then I would have two of those mounted up here, so that you're lighting all the peaks of the house, which is kind of a key feature. And then over on this area here, this is where I would probably have, again, I would have a wash light. Ideally, I would probably have some uplights back here that light this area, but if this bush is really thick, that's where a wash light back here will just gently highlight that, get a little bit of the brick, but it's not going to be overwhelmingly bright, and it's just going to fill what would otherwise be a dark spot in that area. Along the side of the house here too, I mean, this is where I can't zoom or anything, but this is where you probably want to try and highlight this guy a little bit too with like a wash light. And it depends how much lighting you want to do here. I mean, I think it'd be nice to have some kind of uplight again, whether it's an in-ground light or an uplight that kind of shines up this window and catches this peak, because this would be a nice visual to match the rest of the front of the house. Yeah, we kind of talked about this area. You're going to have to get creative, and that's where I say that battery pack is nice, because then you can kind of play around with where exactly that uplight on this tree is going to look best to light up this area. And then we'll keep going around the house here. I like all those areas. Yeah, and then this was the other area I was going to light. So this is an area where I think you're definitely going to want to use some path lights. I would definitely run some kind of conduit underneath the driveway over here, and then somewhere close to the house. Whether you think you're going to need to get wire or anything under there, I'd probably run two pipes, either a 2 or 3 inch pipe. Doesn't really matter what it is, but just get it underneath. In my experience, you can never have too much conduit running under a big driveway like that, because it's a pain in the butt, and there's so many times where we're so restricted because that wasn't put in, and for what that pipe's going to cost, it's so worth it. So I would probably try and do that on both ends of the driveway. And then for lighting these areas, you know, again, play around with it, but I just know from experience, if you try and put a light just here, so usually I would use an in-ground light, it's going to be tough to get it far enough out that the bottom of these branches is not going to catch all of it. So typically what we'll do is we'll actually come from the two sides, and I'll bring that in-ground light out further because again, I don't want to be trimming around this thing. I just want to be able to easily mow over it. I don't need to see that fixture. You can angle the bulb inside that in-ground light a bit. So I would try and get one kind of out here and have that angling up the canopy. And then in a perfect world, I would have two on each tree. I would have one kind of on the entry side and one on the exit side, and I'd have two of those in-ground lights on each of these trees. And that's where, you know, it can start getting a little bit costly, and there's a lot of lights, but from experience, that's kind of going to be the best way to create a really nice effect going down the driveway here. So that's how I would do that. And then, yeah, because same thing. I mean, you want the viewing angle from here, but I think you're also going to want to see that from the house. So that's why I would definitely have two on each tree. As for the gate and stuff and the fence, it depends. You showed me a picture. Yeah, I talked about the path lights here already. I'll kind of keep going to, yeah, lighting this front step area, I think with two path lights would be nice. And then I just wanted to get to the fence and the gate. So depending on the fence, I think you said it was going to be a steel fence, which makes it a little bit trickier for lighting. Ideally, depending on the fence, I like using two kinds of lights. I either like using these undercap lights that nicely fit underneath kind of that top railing, and then they do a nice job of lighting the majority of the fence. So that's my favorite light to do because I think you get more bang for your buck out of that. I'm just trying to find another picture here of another light that I like to use. Just give me one sec. Is the other option, again, if it's wood, is a light like this that sits right on the post. You can surface mount it, and then it just highlights down the beam. I wouldn't do, obviously, every fence if this is going all the way across, but on, you know, maybe every second one, just so it creates a little bit of light. And I would probably do it on the road side and not the other side. But if it's a steel gate, then obviously it's going to be trickier because you're not going to be able to mount that. So what I like to do in that case is I'll use an in-ground light. Again, it's not on the website, but it's a smaller version. It's a very small version of the light. It looks something like this, except without this half shroud on it. And it's just this little circular light. And then what we'll do is same idea, but we'll light from down below. We'll light like every second or third of these columns. And then same thing as you kind of get into, sorry, where's my pictures here? As we kind of get into this fence, this is probably where I would try and have, like, again, a couple in-ground lights that if you have like a logo or something, even if you just had one in-ground light that's shining on that from down below. The nice thing too is that we also have these lights that have like a little steel grate on it, so it's better if you're driving over and stuff. It's not glass, so you don't have to worry about cracking that. But that would be an option. So like I said, Clay, I mean, probably a lot of customization to this kit and to some of the products and stuff. But if you let me know what ideas you like based on those recommendations, we can kind of work with you to put something together and go from there. You've got some pretty long runs, so it might be worth having two separate transformers to run this, maybe one on each side of the driveway, because that's going to be the majority of your run. Obviously, is going to be down the driveway here. So, you know, even if you could almost have all of this on one, and then you could just do the house on maybe a smaller one, would be the way to go. But again, we can kind of work with you on figuring that out. Let me know how else I can help, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Clay. Two other lights we're going to use on this project. These again are two of my favorite lights. We're going to be using a LF wall light. This is going to be a nice barbecue area, and they're going to have a nice stone tabletop on here that's actually going to lean over and cover this. So really all you're going to see is the lighting effect on the stonework on the base of this. I like this light because you can tuck it just about anywhere and it totally disappears, and all you really see is the effect. So we've basically got 4 of those around this barbecue area. And then the other light we're going to use is we have a nice pergola that we're going to have some hanging lights that we're going to feature on the top of these. We're only putting 2 because we don't need to light up the whole area. We're just trying to create a nice ambient light. So that's why we've chosen our VE hanging light also for this project. So again, 2 of my favorite lights, and we're going to use them in this project also. We're getting pretty close to getting wrapped up this project. We've got all our lights in. So basically, you know, our first step was we took a design and we went and chose all our lights. What was cool about this one is, you know, this is a client who actually had emailed in pictures for a free consultation, and because it was on Vancouver Island, we were able to do it. So we looked through all his pictures, we gave him some recommendations, and then we gave him a price to actually install it, which is not always the case because some of you guys are far away. I wish we could, but we just can't. But what was cool is then we got on site, and a lot of what we had determined from the pictures were very accurate. So we already had a pretty good idea of what we were going to do, how many lights, and we're able to size the transformers beforehand. But sometimes, and is often the case, we get on site and there's some things we want to add or some things we want to take away. So so that's how we go and then determine our transformer. So we'll always try and determine that based on a design. But the key is just leave it a little bit bigger if you're not sure, because you always want to make sure you have enough room. And if you're using an LED system, it's not as crucial that you get it the exact transformer as when you had a halogen system. With a halogen system, you had transformers that had multiple taps, and you really had to be careful that you were getting the right voltage to the right lamps, or you were just going to burn them out a lot quicker. But if you're getting an LED system, a lot of times you'll see on the box, it'll say that your LED is usually rated from 9 volts all the way to 15 volts, which means it's going to operate within that range, whereas halogens was usually between 11 and 12, so you really had to do your math. With LED, that eliminates a lot of that. So a general rule of thumb, and if you have more questions about sizing your transformer and voltage drop and all that, go to YouTube and just search Lighting Doctor voltage drop. There's a video where I go into a lot of detail and show you a chart and everything. But general rule of thumb, on 300 feet of wire, you can put up to 100 watts and not really have any voltage drop issues, as long as you're using a larger transformer like this that has a 15 volt tap, which means you're starting at 15 volts and all the way down the line you might get down to 10 volts, but that's still going to run that light, and it's still going to be as bright as it should because that bulb is rated from 9 to 15 volts. Again, assuming it's a good one. That's why we always say not all products are created equal, so you have to do some due diligence there. We do a lot of that in our kits, but just buyer beware. So basically, it's really simple to go and size your transformers. You take all your lights, you add up all the wattage of all the lights. So if you have a bunch of 5 watt up lights and you've got let's call it 20 of them, well that comes out to 100 watts. But you want to size that transformer a little bit larger, because depending on the efficiency of that bulb, the more efficient it is, the closer that actual wattage is going to be to 5 watts. But the least efficient or the lesser efficient bulbs are going to sometimes be almost 10 watts, even though the box says 10 watts, and that's something called their actual, it's called their VA, their actual wattage. So you got to be careful about that. That's why I always say size it a little bit more. But general rule of thumb, add up all your lights, and then size your transformer 20, 30, 40% more than that. If you don't want to have to worry about voltage drop, get a good transformer that has a 15 volt tap, and you can run 100 watts on 300 feet of line without running into that issue of losing any brightness at the end of the line. But that's basically it when it comes to a transformer. The only other thing I was going to mention is the timer options. Now, you know, you see a lot of the dinosaur looking timers where it's this little digital or this little analog wheel that you got all these little tabs you got to stick out. They got these different digital timers that you got to be a rocket science to operate. The nice thing is that a transformer like this, we use one of these. It's from Wion. It's a Wi-Fi timer. But basically, there's dozens of these on the market, and if you have a smart home system, have a look if they already have an outdoor plug, because that's all this is. It's basically a Wi-Fi plug for outdoors, and all you have to do is, now when you go plug this transformer into your GFCI receptacle, all you're going to do is you're going to flip this into the on position. So you're just going to leave your transformer in all the time. But this little thing here, where usually you would have a photocell, which again I highly recommend against, because photocells just fail all the time. You have to have your transformer in the right position, because if it's in a dark shaded position, your lights are going to be on all the time. So all those kinds of things. But to get back to it, basically where it says to plug in your timer or your photocell or whatever, all you have to do is unplug that, plug in your Wi-Fi plug, whether that be this one or whether that be one based on the smart home system you have. Go and plug it into there, and then you plug this guy into your plug-in, and then you just close that up, leave it in the on position, and then you can go and operate everything from your Wi-Fi plug. And usually most of these, you don't need a hub anymore. They have their own app, so you can just go download it, and it usually walks you through how to do that in 2 or 3 steps, and all of a sudden now you have a Wi-Fi landscape lighting system, but you haven't paid tons and tons of money for it. Another thing that we do a lot of times, because I get asked all the time, well, in my front yard, my backyard, I want to be able to zone them different so I can turn them on at different times, kind of like a sprinkler system. There is some really good systems that are out there that do that. They tend to be quite costly. They're great systems, but it depends on your budget. If you don't want to do that and spend that kind of money on a system, just go and use a separate transformer. You know, in this case, on this project, that's what we're doing. We've got one of these for the backyard and one for the front. Luckily, because we have this timer, we can run both those controllers on the exact same app and set them up with totally different schedules, which is what's cool about going and adding something like this to your transformers. And it doesn't have to be this one. It can be basically any outdoor Wi-Fi plug that you go plug into here is going to work. So make your life a lot easier. Turn your transformer into a Wi-Fi system, go and size it properly, be safe, build it, select it larger in case you want to add on down the road too. So hopefully that helps answer your transformer questions. But like I said, if you need more definition on voltage drop and stuff, go to YouTube and search voltage drop lighting doctor, and I guarantee you'll find something. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys got some great do-it-yourself landscape lighting tips. Now, please be sure to go to our website at lightingdoctor.ca and check out our how-to page. It's full of great resources, from our podcast to our video to our most frequently asked questions. And also check out our Try It Before You Buy It light, where you can actually go now and get one of our premium quality uplights and a King Innovation Insta-Light, which is basically a battery pack now that allows you to go and run those lights and test them out on your property. Try it for 14 days. If you don't love it, send it back to us and we'll give you a full refund. And if not, you keep the light at a discounted rate and go and buy what you need for your project. So thanks again for watching. Please be sure to leave us a comment. We'd love your feedback. Have a great day.